who had an idea, and he shared it with his Rotary Club, to have international institutes of understanding around the world. It built in the 1930s. There was over 1,000 of them across the land, all around the world. And so in the 1940s, when President Roosevelt at the U.S. and Prime Minister Winston Churchill of the UK had the idea to try and form some sort of group which would become the United Nations, they said, Rotary is essentially doing a lot of what we think this new United Nations might do. We need to invite them to the table to help us formulate this new organization. And that is the reason why 49 of your Rotary member colleagues were invited to San Francisco in 1945, where the Charter of the United Nations was developed, discussed, and written. And would you believe that it was a Rotarian from South Africa who wrote the first draft of that UN Charter? So when you look at the goals and objectives of Rotary and the goals and objectives of the United Nations, they're very similar. And why wouldn't they be? Because a Rotarian wrote them. And when you look at the UN headquarters in New York, it was 3 Rotarians who negotiated the land deal for the UN headquarters property where the UN would be. Meanwhile, in meetings, they couldn't decide where the location was going to be. And so the Rotarians said, like, we've got to get moving here. We got to put some walk behind the talk. So 3 of those Rotarians went out, they found a location, they negotiated that deal, and that's what moved it forward, and that's why your UN headquarters is in New York, because 3 Rotarians put together the deal to make it happen. So you can be very proud of what you're doing, and when you walk the hallways of the United Nations, and you've got your Rotary pin on, from the highest to the lowest, they appreciate, they recognize the good work that Rotary is doing. So you can each be very proud, because what other organization can claim the top status of NGO organizations at the United Nations? Only you. What other organization can claim $100 million match for a polio fund now for 4 years from the Bill Gates Foundation? What other group has been given millions of dollars by Google for the polio initiative? So that gives you some sense of status, some sense of respect that you have as Rotary members by the leaders of this world for the great work that you do as part of the Rotary family. And when you think of the amount of money we put towards eradicating polio from this world, Rotary so far has just a little bit shy of $1 billion that we've raised and contributed to eradicating polio. Be very proud of that and the work that you're doing through your clubs and through your districts and through events such as the Peace Conference that's being held here. I'm sure you already know that very recently a friend of ours, actually, Marty Hellman, instigated a foundation that she was in charge of who donated $15 million to help establish the new Peace Scholar program here in Istanbul. And on the 23rd of this month, we'll be opening officially that event and celebrating with the first graduates from that program. You know that we've got Rotary Peace Scholars in almost every senior level position around the world. There's many of them that work at the United Nations. There's many of them that work as advisors to senior cabinet ministers in many governments. And so we are planting the seeds for a better world through our Rotary Peace Ambassadors. And when I went to New York, I was asked to be the liaison with Interpol because I have a background with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Canada. And who would you think was the first person that greeted me at the Interpol office door? A Rotarian, a Rotary Foundation Peace Scholar who was seen as such a good employee that she is now in charge of human smuggling for the world with Interpol. And when I walked in, I had the highest amount of respect shown to me, not because of who I was, because of the Rotary logo on my shirt. Because the Secretary General took me in his office and he told me how great she was, and he gave Rotary credit for the Peace Scholar program that she was a graduate of, and therefore his respect and admiration for her proven abilities and her achievements in her work, and obviously her moving up the ladder with promotions. He gave Rotary credit for her being so good, and so that's why he was sharing it. It was nothing to do with me. I was just a man wearing the Rotary logo. I want to shift gears a minute. I think I've said enough about that. Happy to answer any questions. But I want to share with you a great opportunity. In addition to the Peace Conference that's coming up, it's the Calgary Rotary International Convention.
Yeah.
And I've been going to Rotary conventions for almost 40 years. And I got to tell you, Calgary is going to be one of the best. If you go to convention.rotary.org, you'll see the convention materials. It's an opportunity to hear world-renowned speakers. Usually we have keynote speakers in the morning as a large group. Join 20,000 Rotary friends there from all around the world. In the afternoons, we have a series of breakouts where, depending on your area of interest, whether it's youth, whether it's water projects, whether it's medical projects, there will be a series of breakouts that you can attend for those of interest. And then we have what we call a gigantic house of friendship. So just imagine a big convention hall, kind of like a trade show, where clubs and districts and organizations share their projects. You can learn ideas for new projects. You can learn from Rotarians who've already done it, what the best practices are, and obviously make new friends from all around the world. The other thing is, of course, there's fun and fellowship and camaraderie. And if you go to Rotary Calgary 2025, there's a whole bunch of extra events like concerts, tours, and the Rotarians in Calgary will invite you to their homes for dinner on one evening. So the Saturday night event and the Monday night event are two of the key things. So I do encourage you, if you can figure out how to get there, think really long and hard about registering for the Calgary International Convention. It'll just rock your Rotary world. So thank you so much for having us. It's great to see you again, and I'm happy to stay here all night and answer questions if anybody has them.
Yes, so thank you for the inspiring speech. And if you want to break up your seating order now and talk to others, please feel free to walk around, talk, and meet new people.